Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dad Said Stuff. I am getting this started again. So, today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about Riley Gaines in front of Congress and kind of what she was told, which will blow your mind. We're going to talk a little bit about free speech and how that's playing out in the United States right now, especially California. And we're going to talk about the Times Person of the Year, Taylor Swift. So, thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. So, the first thing I want to start with is Riley Gaines. This woman is pretty amazing. She is standing up for women, really, and in a way that's you just don't get to see too much anymore. A lot of what we see now is these people get put in front of cameras and just angry people yelling at them, and they step down and just walk away. I understand it. It's scary to get yelled at, especially when everyone around you is telling you you're wrong. But this woman is doing a great job. So basically, she was in front of Congress yesterday. She had a little bit of a testimony, a little back and forth with some of the congressmen that were interesting. But what's great is her story. I'm sure you've probably heard her story before. She was an NCAA champion swimmer who lost some titles because she had to go up against a biological male named Lia Thomas, who was 6'4". Also, still had male genitalia. So we're going to just talk about that a little bit. If you look at what she said, our safety, our privacy, it doesn't matter. She said, we should smile and step aside and allow these men into our spaces, or else you're a bigot. And this went back and forth with her and I can't remember the other congresswoman's name, but the insane part of this story is that Lia Thomas, the female who was in there, had male genitalia. She said so right here. So what that kind of looked like, in the vein of being extremely transparent, a 6'4", he's actually taller than a 6'1". A 6'4" male walks in, disrobes, and is fully intact with male genitalia while we're simultaneously undressing. I have a daughter. Men don't undress in front of my daughter, and they never will. It's not appropriate. It's not okay. Women with penises, if that's what they're going to call it, also should not be undressing in front of young ladies. It's not appropriate. It's not okay. So she was very brave. She stood in front of Congress here and had a great conversation. You guys should check it out if you get a minute. She's got her actual message, her actual intro message was very emotional. She cried a little bit. It's definitely worth the watch. This was also on top of another, discrimination problem that we're seeing in higher education. So that was from the NCAA side of it, and this is from the actual colleges. What we're seeing on colleges like MIT, Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, these were the presidents that were called in front of Congress yesterday to talk about the anti-Semitism that's happening since October 7th. This is surprising to me, honestly. Not that there's more anti-Semitism after October 7th. It's more surprising to me that we are seeing some people from both sides of the aisle recognizing a problem and talking about it. In that it's great that we're recognizing it, it's bad that it's happening. So we'll just read real quick here from the New York Post. On Tuesday, the president of Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and MIT were called before the House Committee on Education and the Workforce to answer for how their pristine institutions had devolved into hotbeds of anti-Semitism. The whole debacle is a remarkable display of elite higher education fall from grace and how blah, 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 blah. None of this really matters that much. Okay. The hearing comes after Jewish students were mobbed by pro-Palestinian demonstrators at Harvard, and protesters were heard chanting for an intifada revolution. And if you've seen the videos of this, they're looking for a global intifada revolution, which I know that I'm not going to be loved for saying this, but it's not, I don't know how to say it without being an idiot. So basically what I'm going to say is, you really shouldn't be saying things like intifada revolution in a large march in a country that it really doesn't directly affect. And you definitely shouldn't be attacking people in schools. It doesn't even make sense. So what we find is this insane amount of I want to say leftist protesters who kind of were taking up the BLM charge and things like that. A lot of the same tactics are being applied here in this type of protest. We're seeing, people getting shouted down. We're seeing people get locked into a library and told to leave through they couldn't leave even while guarded. It's just crazy what's happening. So, what I noticed though, is that none of the presidents really had anything to say about the professors being shouted down, the students being locked into libraries, rooms, students being attacked, posters being ripped down. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening. This being said, Palestine also, or on the other side, the pro-Palestinian groups are not seeing the same hate, but are saying that they are. And I think a lot of that is coming from the fact that it's a war. It's a real war. And it's a real war between real people who really hate each other. You're not going to get the best of the people when you're at war. You can't by nature. You have to be aggressive and angry and do some evil stuff in war. America is not at war. And we're not Palestine and we're not Israel. And honestly, I don't really understand why our colleges are allowing this, why we're even going down this direction. It's not new. It's not something we haven't seen in the past. BLM was a great example of this in the 2019, 2020, the Summer of Love. There was all sorts of rioting, things like that. And a lot of that started in the institutions. You see a lot of people getting shouted down. Ben Shapiro, the whole Daily Wire crew, they had all sorts of issues going into colleges. They still do, where they have long, crazy protests. And you just don't, it's just not getting better. It's getting worse. What it's looking like is that this might be the nail in the coffin for higher institutions, higher education institutions, the way that they're constructed right now. If you're more interested about that, I would look into some of the new discourses by James Lindsay. He's got a blog, he's got a podcast where he talks about it. He's got some great breakdowns of what some of the problems are. Where this is going, though, is it is moving towards more separation between everybody. It's not getting better. It's getting way worse. You see things like this: stop genocide, stop the genocide, stop the genocide. And, we're not really playing that game well. There's no genocide. The Palestinians are growing in population. I just don't know how else to get through this. It seems as though we're going to have a really rough couple of years before any of this is able to settle out. What will be good is that this is putting it out into the very front, and as I said earlier, there's some bipartisan agreement that the anti-Semitism that's happening right now is a big problem. So maybe there'll be some movement in getting away from some of the crazier DEI stuff in the near future. Maybe there'll be some changes to policies, some laws, but honestly, it looks like we're just going to have some more protests, more craziness, and hopefully little less violence. So now we're going to move on to kind of some freedom of speech issues that we're seeing. This one is similar. We went down this. We talked about the freedom of speech of shouting people down, which you really shouldn't have, and telling people, calling for a violent revolution. Well, in California, our amazing governor, all sarcasm intended, has decided to surrender the Christmas tree lighting in a really weak move. So, post-millennial here. California Governor Gavin Newsom has canceled the annual Christmas tree lighting in Sacramento as a protest against Israel was scheduled by the Regional Coalition for Palestinian Rights had declared their intention to hold a protest on Tuesday during the tree lighting. The group has been calling for a ceasefire, which has been in effect for a few days until Hamas refused to abide, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So the whole thing here is the tree lighting. they were. The tree lighting happens every year. It's not a huge event. It is a big event. It is something that Californians do appreciate, and it's happened for 92 years straight in the capital. We had fires in 2017 and 2019 that were hugely destructive to California, and we still had the Christmas tree lighting. We did the Christmas tree lighting during COVID. There has not been a year where they didn't do the Christmas tree lighting, and now we are going to have, because of this group, this Sacramento Regional Coalition for Palestinian Rights. This is the group right here. They are just planning on protesting. For what reason? How is this related to... How's lighting a Christmas tree related to Palestine and Israel? It's not. How is any of this have anything to do with... It doesn't. So this just goes in line with more of what California has been doing. We saw a couple of weeks ago, Xi Jinping came to California. We cleaned up San Francisco. Before that, poop all over the streets. I've been down there a few times this year. It's very bad. My kids and I went down to San Francisco in late June, I want to say. And my daughter got to see a naked man riding a bike in the middle of the street. So did my cousin's daughter. It was brutal. It's not what you want. Now, that is one form of depravity that we just kind of let happen. We're all for it. But now we're moving towards violence again. Again, 2020 was rough. 2020, 2021 was a rough couple of years for California. We saw a lot of people leave. We saw people destroying things. We keep seeing this I can't remember. It's the veto, not the Hustlers veto. Man, I'm losing the word. But basically, you shout people down. That's California. There is no rule of law that seems to hold people to standards that are, equal at all. There's no accounting for when we have violence, when we have fires, when we have, robberies. If you've been to California lately, you've seen it. Now, this isn't everywhere. Let's be honest. I live up north, little nicer area. We're a little further away from some of the cities, some of the other problems some of the problems that you have down there. And we're going to do a Christmas tree lighting in our city. Something we've done every year, and I don't believe it's going to get shut down. This is probably because we have people who want it to keep going, and we're willing to fight for it a little bit. Gavin Newsom isn't willing to fight for anything. I said the other day he surrendered California. And if you look at the last, 2-3 years, it's obvious he has. When he was recalled, he didn't change a single policy. So he was recalled, and, just because the only reason why he stayed in was because we had too many people. It was the Gary Coleman effect all over again, where Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor because there were 500 people on the ballot. It was the same problem with Gavin Newsom this time. If we had had one candidate on the ballot, he would not be here. I truly believe that. He continues to just throw away all of our traditions. And he doesn't care. And he's plastic, and that's fine. That's who we voted for. It's our fault. But it's time to move on from this man. If there is any justice in the world, he will not be our governor next year, I believe. And if he runs for president, that would be very bad for the country. All right, moving on to the last story we're going to cover today. So this one is fun, kind of. So Taylor Swift is our 2023 Person of the Year. She is fine. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I see a lot of people getting irritated by this. It's because she's I don't know what. She's just a celebrity. She's popular. She's got all this craziness behind her. She's not like super political from what I've seen. She does get into it a little bit in the lefty side. Nothing too crazy. I think she's spoken out about like women's issues a little bit. She's, she has some good music. I'm not going to hate on it. And honestly, she's super rich. I don't really see a problem with this. Now, for a couple of reasons. One, Hitler has been the Time Man of the Year, or Person of the Year, back in, I think, 1940 or 1930 something. And it's really not that important. Time has thrown all of their credibility into the gutter. They don't really have any cultural impact anymore. This is probably a good move for them. Taylor Swift is on the up right now. She's taken over the NFL with the Travis Kelce dating him and everything. And, she's got music that everyone, at least a few Taylor Swift songs. I don't care if you don't listen to the radio or anything. I'm sure you've heard them. She's culturally probably like the most relevant pop star right now. And honestly, it's not that important. That's the biggest thing to me. I just find it funny. If we're going to throw Times Person of the Year out at a musician, cool. Is she the most impactful person of the year? Maybe. Probably not. She's very distracting, which is good. But she's also very young. She's 33, I think, 34, somewhere in that range. And, it is what it is. I have no issue with her being Times Person of the Year. I kind of like that we're getting back to some stupidity here in this direction. She is, the greatest breakup artist of all time. And she, she's in the spotlight. I think that what we're looking for, what some people are looking for, especially on the right, when you see like the more conservative red pill type people, you're seeing a lot of people who want to see like Trump on the Times Person, which, we know that's never going to happen, or, some political figure, something like that. And that's just not where we're at. Our culture does not want politicians to be heroes right now. We all hate politicians. If you look at the House, or the congressional approval rating is down in like the 20s. President Biden's down in the 30s, 40s, somewhere in that range. Nobody likes politicians right now. And it's because they're doing stupid things and they're not listening to us. They're not listening to their people. So, to be honest, I'm actually happy that this happened. I really hope we see more of this type of stuff. The media needs to go back to being this side of the media. The cultural media needs to go back to being the cultural media. They need to stop trying to affect policy and change everything. If you want to have your culture, if you want to build a culture that is all about woman power and all about, if you're into the transgender issue and you're really interested in that, I don't have a problem with that. Build that culture. There's a movie from, I can't remember, I want to say the 90s. It was Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything. I can't remember the last part of that, but it was a drag movie, and it honestly wasn't that bad. It's kind of funny. Not something I would like show to my kids or anything, but those are things you can have. We had Tim Robbins back in, when he was doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He did the whole thing in drag. It was like transvestites is what they were called back then. And we've had this culture around. It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. What is ideal is letting that culture build on its own and stop trying to superimpose it onto everything. I think things like Time moving back to this will do that. Not saying Taylor Swift is a super feminist or she's super trans. I don't know what the word for it is. An ally? Is that the word that they use? Whatever. I'm not saying that we really want this person out there, that we really want to promote Taylor Swift. We really want people who are building a culture that they want to build to just build the culture that they want to build, not try to break the current culture. And this is okay way to do it. Now, I know that I kind of rambled a little bit, went over a couple of stories, and I know that, again, you're probably, people are going to have all sorts of other opinions. So, please, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Like and share, subscribe if you would. And, I'll keep bringing this out and keep trying to be the dad who says stuff. Thanks, everybody, and I will talk to you in the near future.